Hi there, welcome to today's painting tutorial. Today we are going to paint a horse with acrylic paint, so grab the sketch in the description below and paint along with me. Let's start with a size 0 round brush. I'm going to pick up some of this burnt sienna and put that along the bottom of the eye. And then I'm going to rinse off the brush. I want that to glow, so I'm going to try to pick up some of the paint in the center. Okay, so you can carefully pick up some of that paint and see that it's going to glow in the center of the eye. Okay, so now let's pick up some black paint. I'm going to put in the nostril. And then I'm going to put in the bottom lip. Just follow along with that sketch. And you can put in that black. And now let's go around the eye. So I'm going to put in the dark of the pupil first. And then eyelid. Just go around it very carefully. And put a little shadow along the top. And then we can go above with the black. And then we can go below it. And then pick up some of this gray paint. And put that along the top of the lid. Carefully go in between where the black lines are. And then mix up a lighter gray. So we could do some gray with white. Mix that up so we have a nice light gray paint to work with. And then with that light gray, we're going to put some above the eye of the horse to make a nice eyelid. And then underneath that black line, you can add some of that as well. Okay, and if you need to go back, you could pick up more black and add some more lines in there. Okay. We can let that dry. So we'll pick up more black and let's do some more outlining. So I'm going to go around the ear, inside the ear, and then along that base. I'm going to put a little bit more above the eye. Bring some out this way. Can come along where this hairline is. Can go along this jaw, underneath here. Just trying to put some outlines here. Maybe along this nostril in the back. Okay, so now let's switch brushes. I'm going to switch to a domed round brush. It is a smaller brush. And let's work on one section at a time. So first, let's focus in on the eye. I'm going to take some of this burnt umber and come around the eye. And then go underneath it. And then I'm going to pick up some of the dark gray. Bring some of that around. And then let's pick up some of that dark gray. Bring it underneath here. Okay, so now let's work on the muzzle. So for that, we can pick up some of this dark gray and bring it along the bottom of the muzzle. And then we want to get a little bit lighter in the center, so I'll take some light gray and put that in the middle. And then for this area here, I'm going to go around with the gray. Go around that nostril. And then pick up some black. Go underneath the nostril. Bring it down this way. And then pick up some of the pink. I can put some pink in there. And then some gray around this back corner. And then I'm going to pick up more gray and start bringing it around this section. Pick up a little bit of black. And then some burnt umber. Feather that in. Okay, and then we want to get lighter, so I'll pick up some light brown. Put that in the center. And then we can pick up beige. And put a little highlight there. Okay, and then also a highlight here, this section. Okay, so now let's work on this area here. So I'm going to get some lighter grayish color. I want to bring that light gray along this section. And we can bring it along the nose area. And get a little bit darker. And then I'm going to get lighter, so we'll take that burnt sienna. Feather some of that in. And then pick up the beige. Start putting some of the beige in. Okay. So now we can do this area here. So for that, I'm going to switch back to the 0 round brush. And we want to put some gray in here. I'm just going to go around this stripe along the nose. Put some gray so that we have an outline there. And then pick up the white paint and feather that white into the center. Okay, that gives us a nice mark there. You can go down a little ways along the nose. Maybe make it go to a point. And you could add some pink in there too. Okay, so this left eye, let's take a dark brown, put that underneath the eye, and then add some light brown, that burnt sienna. Then we could take a bit of beige and highlight that. Okay, so I'm going back to that domed brush, and I'm going to start bringing in this color here. Using that dark brown where we want a bit of shadow. And then let's add some beige where we want to get lighter. A little more beige. And then bring some down this way. Okay. And then I'm going to take that brown and bring it down this way with a little bit of beige for a highlight. Okay, so let's do this section here. So I'm going to switch brushes. I want to try using a fan brush. Let's see if we can take some of the dark brown and bring it around the outside edge. Trying to get a clean edge right here. And then we can get lighter. We'll take that burnt sienna. Maybe pick up a little gray and bring that down here. And then come into the beige and bring that into this section here. Okay, so that fan brush allows us to create a nice, smooth, blended effect there. Okay, so now let's work on this section here. So I want it to be darker. I'm going to mix some of this burnt umber in with the black. And I'm going to start bringing that down with this fan brush. And then I tried to highlight in the sketch where these really dark areas are. Okay, so we get really dark. And I'm going to pick up some gray. Let's put some of that along the neck. And then let's come into the burnt umber. And continue to bring it down. Burnt umber and gray. Because we don't want it to take away from the face area, so we do want it to be a little darker and a little bit duller. I'm going to try to stay away from the burnt sienna for right now. Okay, and then as a highlight, you can use some of this light gray. We're still staying pretty cool. And you can feather that in, and you can see how that, again, the fan brush really helps to create that smooth, blended look, almost like oil painting with the acrylics. Okay. So I'm going to go back with this dome brush. I'm going to take some burnt sienna. And I'm going to try to cover up some of the whites of the paper. Just go back and use that almost like a glaze to just clean up some sections. Okay, and I'm also going to ask myself if we need another layer of some of this paint. I'm going to take a dark gray with a little bit of black because we need another layer around this section. And around that nostril. Okay, so you can go back and add some of those dark values that got lightened a little bit too much. Okay, try not to cover up all of the subtle color shifts that you made. Okay, and then you could think about highlighting. So we could do that with some beige paint. And we could come in this section. Just add some subtle highlights. Okay, let's use the 0 round brush to fill in those ears. I'm going to take a little bit of the dark brown. Some burnt sienna. More of the dark brown. And then some gray paint. Just fill in those ears. They're really not a focal point. So you don't have to put too much emphasis or attention on them. Okay, so now let's work on the mane. I'm going to take this small fan brush and I want to mix up, let's mix up a grayish brown color for this. So we'll take some gray and some brown, maybe let a little bit of black get in there. And then I'm just going to put this in for the mane. We put a little bit more of a dark color along the neck here. And then over here along the head area. Okay, I'm going to add some beige into this, lighten it a little bit. Then feather that in. Okay, and then I'm going to switch to a liner brush. This is a 2/0 liner brush. I'm going to take some of this burnt umber, add a little water to it so it gets a nice consistency. Roll that brush in there. And then see if we can cover over the sketch these little sections for the hair. And then you can do that in this area as well, along the top. And you can pick up some beige, maybe some gray, and then use that to put in highlights for the hair. Okay, I might go in with that dome brush and try to cover up some of the whites of the paper, just to clean things up a little bit. Okay, so step back and look at your work. See if you need to cover any whites of the paper or crisp up any lines. I'm going to come back in with a gray shadow here along the neck. And then down in this section. Just try to bring out some of that highlight for those neck muscles. Okay, and you can use that fan brush as well to put in some highlights and to blend, make any blending that you need to do. I'm going to add another layer of this dark brown. And then some of the light brown here. Just another layer. Okay, so this fan brush is also great for highlighting. You can go back and add a few highlights with that. Okay, if you overdo it, just take the darker color and blend it back in. Okay, so let's put the highlight in the eye. I'm going to use a 0 round brush to do that. A little bit of white on the brush. And then I'm just going to put a few little highlights like that. Okay, so at this point, I'm just going to go back, continue to clean up any edges or refine things, add more shadows, add more highlights. Just make sure everything is smooth and cohesive. Okay, but that is how you can paint a horse with acrylic paints. I hope you give this a try. Like and subscribe for more painting tutorials. If you want to go deeper into acrylic painting, grab my free guide in the description below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!